For those of you who I haven't met yet, my name is Lisa Carriagalo. I'm the Vice President for Academic Development, Diversity, and Inclusion here at Brown. And on behalf of Brown University, I would like to welcome you this morning to the Brown 250th National Diversity Summit. I know that many of you were at the welcome plenary last night, and I believe a good time was had by all. Yes. I must say one of the most remarkable things that I observed last night was just the intergenerational aspect of the event. We talk a lot about the history of Brown and the history of students of color and LGBTQ students and other diverse groups at Brown, but to see so many of the alums, many of you who are here this morning, and many more who will likely be joining us later on today, and to see the current generation of students, undergrad and graduate students there, and in particular to listen to the unique stories told by our panelists of students last night meant a lot, I think, to many of us, and remind us that this work that we do, especially the work that you all continue to do at your institutions to ensure a more inclusive academic community, is so essential to continuing the excellence of our institutions. There is no question in anyone's mind that diversity and inclusion is essential to a 21st century university. And we do not have to make any excuses about why we have these summits around diversity and inclusion. In fact, every institution should yearly come together and reflect on how we make progress on the work of diversity and inclusion. So today we have a lot of work ahead of us. I might point out that all of our plenary sessions are actually live streamed. And so for those who are not able to attend and be with us here at Pembroke, they can watch it in the comfort of their homes, in bed, or in their pajamas, or whatever. But I think it's a lot more fun to be here, engaged, and to see the people here today, and to interact with the speakers in more meaningful ways. In addition to the live streams, if any of you tweet, I don't, but I just got an account. I don't know how to work it, but it's okay. Hashtag Brown Diversity. Do feel free to tweet and talk about ideas, talk about anything that you observe and see, and people you meet here at the sessions today. So just a few housekeeping notes. Pembroke 305, as you all know, the elevator's there, but if you took the elevator and you don't want to take the elevator back down, there are a set of stairs right back behind the coat rack. The restrooms are over here and over there at both ends of Pembroke 305. Almost all of the concurrent sessions, well, I think all of the concurrent sessions, in fact, are in Smith-Bonanno Hall, which is directly across from us. And there will be students and other staff who can lead you there for the concurrent sessions. In addition, in the Smith-Bonanno lobby, there are a couple of exhibits that I hope you will take a look at during the breaks between concurrent sessions. There is a wonderful exhibit of the LGBTQ history here at Brown. Thank you, Ryan Grubbs and Kelly Garrett, for the wonderful work. It's going on the road, so for those of you who are not here in Providence today, I think there will be other opportunities to view it over the next several months. In addition, we have the Blacks at Brown exhibit. There is a panel. It's a digital timeline of the history of Blacks at Brown. And so there is a panel there that you can look at and scroll through. I think we had a little bit of a technical difficulty, but hopefully it has been fixed. And then there is also a similar Samsung panel at the Smith-Bonanno lobby, so if you aren't able to view it here, you can view it also in the lobby at Smith-Bonanno during coffee break as well. I again want to thank Harold and Bernstein Bailey, Karen McLaurin, who isn't here this morning yet, but all three of them were so instrumental, along with Karen Baxter from Africana Studies, in developing the Blacks at Brown timeline. I have been told to ask those of you who are alums here, if you have any photos, or if, as you look through and scroll through the digital timeline, if you see gaps, or if it's, you remember something that you may wish to include, please do send it our way, and we will try to include it and continue really the work that needs to be done to ensure that all of our histories are recognized, acknowledged, and also documented in meaningful ways here at Brown. And then finally, as a last housekeeping note, I also wanted to point out two equally remarkable exhibits that I hope you'll get a chance to see. Here, in Pembroke 305, you will see easels that have photos. This is an exhibit from the Center for the Study of Race and Ethnicity in America. There is a larger exhibit at the CSREA offices, but this is a small sample of a remarkable documenting of microaggressions and microaffirmations, and these are photos of various members of our Brown community who are sharing a little bit of their story and a little bit about their experiences about microaggressions and microaffirmations. And so I hope you'll have a chance to take a look at that during the break sessions, but also we'll have a chance to more fully hear from Professor Tricia Rose as she ends the closing plenary later today, and she'll tell you a little bit more about the evolution of this exhibit. And then finally, as you were coming up on the elevator or up the stairs, on the first floor of Pembroke Hall, we have the Lamphere exhibit about the history of Louise Lamphier's fight for tenure here at Brown. So lots to think about, lots to ponder. Today's sessions were designed to not only inspire, but I hope to provoke, and we'll be poking and provoking. I think this is an important moment here at Brown as we end the celebration of the Brown 250th to really reflect on and to think carefully about what needs to be done to ensure that we have the necessary conditions to support and provide resources to the diverse students, faculty, and staff who have come to share their talents and who have come to share their experiences with us so we can be a better university. So our work today, both in the plenary sessions and in the concurrent sessions, is really to gather ideas, to debate with each other, to reflect, to imagine what might be possible, to think outside of the box, to make connections, to collaborate. There's lots to do, and I know that work has already begun. Even last night, there were a number of people who very generously offered internships for our students, and we're so delighted, and we thank those individuals who are providing that support. So we want you to think about what more we all can do, what more can the university do to address many of the issues and concerns that our students are bringing forward. With that said, I'd like to invite now a very important and critical leader here at Brown. Often, I think our alumni leaders sort of toil behind the scenes, but please do not think that they are not, in fact, having an impact, because they are, and they are being heard, and they are heard every day, not just because We love them, but because they have important things to say about their experiences here and about the kind of experiences that they hope our students here have. And so I'd like to invite the current chair of the President's Diversity Advisory Council, Javette Lermont, to introduce our distinguished welcome plenary speaker. Javette.
Good morning, and thank you, Lisa. Today, we have the opportunity and distinct pleasure to hear from our keynote speaker, Richard Tapia. I've had just a few moments of time with this distinguished individual, and I can tell you we are in for an amazing adventure. Inspired champion of diversity, role model, and mentor for women and minorities in science, engineering, and mathematics. Richard Tapia is a leading mathematician, university professor at Rice University, and Maxfield Oshman Professor of Engineering, Associate Director of the Graduate School, Graduate Studies, and Center for Excellence in Equity in Education. Born in Los Angeles to parents who migrated from Mexico, seeking opportunities for themselves and future generations. He's a first. He's a first in many ways, a first in his family to receive a BA, an MA, and PhD degrees in mathematics from the University of California. But let's fast forward. In addition to his distinguished contributions to mathematics, Dr. Tapia has shown extraordinary leadership in increasing opportunities for underrepresented minorities in science and mathematics. His honors and his tributes stand as a testament to his long-term commitment and success in sharing the excitement and the relevance of mathematics and science with students from the inner city to his PhD candidates. He's a founding member of the Society for the Advancement of Chicanos and Native Americans in Science. He has developed innovative approaches to spark interest in careers in math and science in his Math is Cool presentations. And his research has resulted in groundbreaking methodologies and findings in the area of computational optimization, both linear and nonlinear programming. I can't tell you, I know what that means, but I'm sure I'll learn. He's the author of books, and he's the publisher of hundreds of mathematical research papers. Dr. Tapia has received national recognition for his educational outreach programs. And he has really put Rice's computational and applied mathematics department on the map. They are considered the national leader in producing women and underrepresented minority PhD recipients in mathematical sciences. There's a center at Rice named after Dr. Tapia, the Richard Tapia Center, and its mission is to increase the number of Hispanics, African Americans, Native Americans, and women in STEM, which is science, technology, engineering, and math, with an emphasis on leadership development. And his impact reaches beyond this pioneering work of mathematical optimization. He has so many honors that it actually takes up like 5 pages. So it's astounding. But I think some of the highlights are that he's considered one of the 20 most influential leaders in minority math education by the National Research Council. He's received, he was inducted into the Texas Science Hall of Fame. He's the recipient of the Presidential Award for Excellence in Science, Mathematics, and Engineering Mentoring from President Clinton, and then later received a National Medal of Science Award in 2011 from President Obama. Most recently, he received in 2014 the National Science Board's highest award, the Vannevar Bush Award for exceptional lifelong leadership in science, technology, and for making substantial contributions to the welfare of the nation through public service. So it is our honor and our privilege to have Dr. Tapia address us today.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. You know, whenever I get invitations to talk, I say, okay, will I make a difference? Okay, or is this an important deal? And Brown University is important. I mean, you're a national leader, a lot of things. People will do what Brown does. Also, Ruth Simmons is from Houston, Texas. So I knew her. All right, so here's my talk. And there's a title. And I'm going to be biased towards STEM and mathematics because that's what I am, okay? And I'm not trying to sell anything. I'm trying to tell you things I've learned, okay? My life, okay, and the rest of it. So if you agree, that's good. If you don't, that's okay also. And if you want to throw things, that's okay. I could have entitled this, My Unlikely Journey from the Barrios of Los Angeles to the White House and the National Medal of Science. That's an almost infinite travel, okay? And we'll talk more about that. So my introductory statement, all my life I've had to ask, are we the underrepresented minority different? Now growing up in America, I'm a product of the United States. My mother and father were from Mexico. I am United States. I was born in Los Angeles. So growing up in America, we are certainly made to feel different. And we're treated differently, with lower expectations, in many subtle ways. In many subtle ways that people don't appreciate unless you've been there. So my struggle for an identity, a part of being underrepresented minority, especially in academia, is a struggle for identity. Where do I fit? Am I like them, or like me? Okay, yeah, but there's no one else like me. There's an identity crisis for underrepresented minorities grew up in the United States, and particularly if you're good in science, engineering, and mathematics, okay? Now, my struggle as I grew up, in the United States, I was always, this is Los Angeles, called Mexican. And never in a positive way, okay? So my mother said, oh, wait till you go to Mexico. So we went to Mexico and they called me gringo, okay? Okay. So it reinforced, where do I belong? Not here and not there, okay? And I mean, my mother had no problem. She belonged in Mexico even though she was living in the United States. So when I grew up in LA, negative image with the term Mexican American. No one ever used the term Mexican American in a positive way. No one, okay? So for example, Mexican chrome was aluminum paint, okay? And things like that. It was always negative, okay? The implication was that you're not quality and you don't belong in quality activity. So what happens when you don't feel that you belong is the first time you have to deal with failure, and you always deal with failure. You know, I can put failures on this side and successes on this side, and this side would be a lot bigger than that side, but I don't have to put it on my CV, so I don't, okay? But don't think that people don't fail. I mean, these are far more interesting than the successes, okay? But that's for another time, okay? So my mother was so proud. Be proud of who you are, being Mexican American. But Mom, they won't let me be proud. They won't let me be proud. At home, no problem. At school, it's a different thing. So issues related to race that hurt me. When I was in high school, the American Math Society said, we're going to have a contest, and everybody takes this test, and whoever wins will be awarded a prize in front of the whole school. There'll be an assembly. Now, I thought that was cool, because I was not one of the real popular kids. I said, hey, I think I would like to do that. So I won. Now, my school was not all Hispanic. It was mostly, if you've seen The Grapes of Wrath, it was the people from, you know, it was all the people that in California are affectionately called, or not affectionately, the Okies, okay? And so that was my school. So the principal called me in and said, here's your award, you won, but we're not going to have an assembly, okay? And so to this day, I wonder why. When I got a PhD in 1968, we went to Madison, Wisconsin, and I had a son, 3 months old, I had a daughter, 8, and we went to Madison, and I was going to be essentially visiting faculty, postdoc if you wish, at the Math Research Center in Madison, which is really very good. And we rented a house from LA, and we got in a 63 Chevy, which was sort of a Cheech and Chong Chevy, okay? And my wife and daughter, and we drove. And when we got to Madison, we didn't have a house. Because the owner of the house was an electrical engineering professor, had called California to find out if I was Mexican. And when they found out I was, they took away the house. So we had no house, okay? Well, they were embarrassed, so they found us a house, okay? Now, in that area that we lived there, my daughter, who was 8 years old, one time she came to me and she said, "Dad, am I black?" And I said, her name was Cersei. I said, "No, Cersei, why do you ask?" "The neighbor keeps telling me, we don't want you black kids on this block," okay? And I said, "Well, look, this is Madison. They don't know the difference between Mexicans and blacks, okay? Don't worry about it, okay? I mean, just take it that..." And her friends who lived a block away were black, so when they would ride on the neighborhood, on the streets, they didn't like it, okay? But this next statement, years back, the chair of our department, on, the first day of school, all the graduate students are there and all the faculty's there, and you talk about the department and all this stuff. So he was talking about wonderful things about my department, computational and applied mathematics, and he said, "Look, Richard Tapia has won every minority award there is. But the awards that I value and I respect were won by A and B and C." See? And that didn't really, it bothered me. Of course it bothered me, but I've been there before, okay? So I said, he really didn't have to say that, especially since a lot of the students, graduate students, were minority, okay? But he did. And he was so-called my best friend, okay? Remember this. This is sort of foreshadowing. This is going to come back, okay? Now, so all my life I asked, who am I? Well, I pick words that I like. I grew up in Los Angeles in the 60s. To me, Chicano was a great word, even though people, in New Mexico, never. In Texas, almost never. In other places. East Coast is far enough away, they say, "What's this word Chicano?" Okay? But I identified, because it meant it was Mexican-American. It was Mexican from the United States, not from Mexico. My mother and father were from Mexico. And Tejano. Tejano just means Texan in Spanish. But Selena made it so wonderful that we all became so proud of that identity, okay? Before it used to be called Tex-Mex and a million different things. Hyphenated words are almost always never good, okay? That was a proud moment. Everybody became proud. Selena did a lot. Mathematician, I love that word. I love being a mathematician. If I lived again, I'd be a mathematician again. So even though people say, like my daughter, "Dad, how can you love math?" Well, Becky, I do, okay? And this is how I see myself, okay? So Saknas decided to put me on the cover when they said they weren't getting enough identification of la gente, our people, okay? Now, this is a true story. I got a note from Bill Clinton. He was president at the time, and he said, "I love your picture. I was looking for the centerfold." Yes, my culture is American. Maybe with a twist, but I'm American. American culture, the legendary backseat of a 57 Chevy, okay? Now, most of you are too young to know that, okay? But before, accessible places or hiding places, backseat of a 57 Chevy played an important role in dating in the 50s, okay? So if you look at that picture, that's my New Yorican wife, Jean, and that's me, and I'm holding a beer. But this is important. It's Tecate, see? If it was Corona, I'd be a poser. Okay? It's Tecate. Tecate is the beer of the working class. Friday night, Tecate con limón. Okay? So I'm not a poser, and that's a real woman. Okay? My story, my parents came from Mexico. They were very young. My mother was 11, my father was 7. They came without their parents. They were just sent to the United States. They were searching for education. In high school, I never had good counselors telling me anything. So I didn't go to college. I went to work. And there was this fellow named Jim from Mississippi, and he said, "Richard, go to college, go to college, go to college. You're smart. Don't make my mistake." White male from Mississippi. So one August, I went and signed up at community college. Now, at community college, 2 math professors, Frisch and Friedman, said, go to UCLA, go to UCLA. Fine, where is it? I'll show you. Okay, we'll go. And so I went to UCLA, and that was very good. Then the one minority professor in the math department, David Sanchez, when I got a PhD, said, what are you going to do? I said, I don't know. You're going to go to the professorate. Okay. I talked to Wisconsin, and you're going to Wisconsin. Fine. So I go home. Gene, pack, get the kids ready, we're going to Wisconsin. Okay, so we did. Now, one of the characteristics of minorities, in particular Hispanic minorities, is that we get better with age. Okay, we start late, but we get better. It's like wine. Okay, and monotone increasing and multidimensional. We're not just in one dimension. So when I won the National Medal of Science, I was interviewed at NPR by Michelle Martin. Okay, Michelle Martin is a wonderful young black woman, and she said to me, the worst people to interview are scientists, and among scientists, the worst are mathematicians, okay? So she said to me, I never was looking forward to this interview. But after it was over, she said, I'm going to hug you and tell you, you don't seem like a mathematician at all, see? That was my greatest compliment, okay? My parents, okay? My mother's teaching. See, my father was always gone when we got up, and he hadn't come back from work when we went to bed. So we weren't influenced as much. There's 5 of us. Pride. Proudest person in the world. Belief that you can. She really believed everybody could do what they wanted to do, and if you tried. So, you know, she was early in saying, si se puede, yes you can. Outstanding work habits. The hardest working person I've ever known. And a thing that I only realized lately is global excellence. Not, honey, that's good enough for the family. Honey, that's good enough for the neighborhood. It's good enough if it's good enough at a national level, at a global level. So this only came back into my life as I think about things. My mother always made us strive for excellence in a global sense. It's important. Now, my twin brother, Bobby, and I, we grew up racing cars. I was telling Javette that we learned at an early age the cars were more dependable for us than women, so we stayed away from women and built cars. But in 1968, the year I got a PhD, my brother driving set world record in a field dragster, and he's in the Hall of Fame and stuff. And so that's what. And I was there too. We worked a lot. So that was really our first love at the time. But it was an example of global excellence. World record. It wasn't world's fastest Mexican or world's fastest this, okay? It was world's fastest period. Okay, so that was a good thing to do, okay? Now, I always have loved cars, and my wife Jean, we got married when she was 17 and I was 19, so she always grew up with the cars too, and she's loved cars. So for various reasons, a lot of them were personal, but I had to deal with a lot of personal tragedy, and the hardest one was our 21-year-old daughter, who was a student at Rice at the time, who was born when Jean was 18 and I was an undergraduate at UCLA, was killed in an automobile accident. So I needed something to do. So I said, I don't want to deal with people. I want to do something I can do that I care about, but I don't want to deal with people right now. So Jean decided, my wife, let's build a car. And this is the car we built, okay? This is a 3-time national show car champion. Now, again, the global excellence came in. I don't want, when we compete with this car, somebody say, that's okay for a math professor, okay? I wanted this car to be national champion, and nobody know who I was or where I came from. That's what my mother had taught me. So we won 3 times in a row. We took the national championship with this car. It has the flavor. Look, it has the flavor of somebody who's Mexican-American. Look at the size. And it had, you know, the monster. I told Randy in Houston, who built the car, he wanted to put stripes. He says, I want a monster. That's too ethnic. Randy, I want a monster. Put a monster on it. And we did. And this thing just, everywhere it went was just outstanding. Okay, so that's another example of global excellence. And that's my wife. She has multiple sclerosis. She was born in New York. She's New Yorican. And she travels in a wheelchair. And so this is in Fresno, California. Who was from Fresno? Somebody was from, yeah, this is in Fresno. So again, there was an example of global excellence. Now, What do we Latinos do better than any other ethnic group? We produce extremely well, okay? We're very good at that, okay? So here's a profile of our great nation. It shows that the white population is decreasing, the Hispanic is increasing, black is staying constant at best, and the Asian is rising. So the browning of America. White decreases 4% per decade, Hispanic up 4% per decade. So linear extrapolation, which we shouldn't use, in 160 years there'll be no whites in America. Okay? Hispanics will be 80% and the other 20% will be Asians. Okay? So, well, you say, okay, I won't take that statement literally, but you don't have to extrapolate, but just look at what's happening. The Hispanic population is just exploding. Okay? So, the browning of America. The press release, Pew Hispanic Center at Harvard in 2011. The Mexican-American boom, okay? For the first time in history, births overtake immigration. Now see, that means that we're a healthy nation. We don't have to import Mexicans anymore. We're growing our own, okay? And everybody would say, that's really a healthy thing. You know, don't worry about the border. We're still gonna have Mexicans, okay? If you look at the green, it says if you're not Hispanic and die, 1.5 will replace you. The red says if you're Hispanic and die, 8.5 will replace you. That's why we're taking over. So a young population that's exploding. So what do we Latinos do better than any other ethnic group? We drop out of high school. Everywhere you go, if you want to compete with every city, be it Chicago, Houston, whatever, Latinos, and particularly Mexican Americans, have the record for dropping out of high school. We're very good at that. Yet everybody on the other side of campus, all the sociologists say, Hispanics value education. Yet to what extent? Here we are, parents, like when my daughter had her quinceañera, she was 15, there were 15 girls in there. Within 1 year, half of them, beautiful young women, had either dropped out of school, were pregnant, or were married. Okay? That's at the age of 16. Okay? And the parents were happy. Oh, I get to be a grandparent. Okay. So we value education in what meaningful way? So this is a lot of words, but we're going to go. I was going to cut it back, but I didn't. Okay. New York Times, New York Mexicans lag in education. The past 2 decades, the Mexican population in New York City has grown more than 5-fold. With immigrants settling across the 5 boroughs, many adults have demonstrated remarkable success in finding work, filling restaurant kitchens and construction sites. That's all over any major city. I mean, Houston, Texas, that's what you're going to see. But their children have fared far differently. 41% of all Mexicans between ages 16 and 19 in this city have dropped out of school. No other major immigrant group has a dropout rate higher than 20%. The overall dropout rate is less than 9%. The problem is especially unsettling because Mexicans are the fastest growing major immigrant group in the city. So the problem starts early. It isn't, you can't blame universities for our shortfall. But they're not immune. They do play roles. And that's where the leadership comes from. So you can't say, if you're a university person, as I assume all of you are, well, wait until K-12 is fixed. You have to play a role in fixing K-12. I have some wonderful K-12 programs. I actually teach high school students, okay? And in some sense, it's different than teaching Rice students, okay? And even teaching middle school students. They relate to me, and I really feel good about that. What do blacks do better than any other group? High school and no more. Okay? Blacks and browns strongly avoid STEM areas in favor of things like sociology. Asians go into STEM areas, as we all know, but as workers, not as leaders or administrators or other national leaders. It's hard to find Asian Americans or Asians from Asia in the leadership positions in STEM areas. Okay? They're the workers. There's no doubt about that. But we need leadership also. So I gave a talk at an Asian American talk in Houston. They couldn't deny this, and they certainly didn't like it. So let's look at this. Blacks and Hispanics at the top 100 departments at universities in the United States. So I want to look at math, computer science, and electrical engineering. This is the percentage of faculty in those respective departments in the top 100 schools in the country. In math, 1.5% black, 1.7% Hispanic, 17% Asian. Now, if we go to computer science, less than 1% black, 1.8% Hispanic, 27% Asian. Electrical engineering, 1.7 black, 1.7 Hispanic, 28.4% Asian. So this is not to criticize, this is to compliment. Say, Asians are really doing well. So if Hispanics were 14% of the population, African Americans are about the same, but Asians are 5%. So that's just something to, as a fact, to see. I'm not going to say, oh, but this, but this, but that. I'm just saying that I'm just pointing out that fact and that distribution. We're not there. So let's see at the bottom. We are here. That was my first part of the argument. We Hispanics are here, but we're not there. That's the problem. And there's a politician in Houston who took my statement and put it on his literature, but that's okay. I mean, I'm glad somebody took it. Hispanics, where do we get our PhDs? In civil engineering and sociology. African Americans, sociology, political science. Females, sociology, psychology. White males, everything but sociology. Okay? Okay. Asians, electrical engineering, mechanical engineering, computer science. Okay? There are good jobs in this country. I mean, Google, Microsoft. Industry is leading universities. In the early days of computer science, industry like IBM led universities. Then universities caught up. But with social media and the problems and the research issues that are associated with it and the web, if you look at what Microsoft, what Google, what Intel are doing, they're ahead of universities. They're ahead of universities. We have to learn from them. There are good jobs, but we underrepresented minorities tend not to train in the areas where there are jobs. We become sociologists. Sociology is fine, but we don't need everybody there. The nation. Historically, white people, I say that affectionately, have done a great job as STEM workers and leaders. For years, we, the United States, have been the envy of the scientific world. As our nation becomes brown and yellow, as it is, will our scientific workforce and scientific leadership be replaced? Or will historians write about the rise and fall of the United States? Why worry about underrepresentation? Our representation in the population, i.e. the Hispanic, is exploding. Our representation in STEM discipline is not. This is an unhealthy national situation. I won't argue that it's unhealthy for the discipline. I won't argue that. It's unhealthy for the nation. Our concern with STEM underrepresentation today does not come from moral or ethical issues as it did in the 60s, the days of affirmative action. We had guilt feelings. We had denied access. Rightfully so, we should have guilt feelings. Today is a simple matter of the nation's survival. As such, it's an issue of numbers, not which group suffered the most. Of course, African Americans suffered more than Hispanics, in my opinion. I have no problems with that. But the issue is the numbers. If you don't educate your people, then we are a weak nation in terms of the things that guide the nation. Underrepresentation endangers the health of the nation, not the health of the discipline. Math is going to go forward. Engineering is going to go forward. Computer science will go forward, with or without women and minorities, with or without. 4 significant factors in underrepresentation: faulty evaluation by mathematicians, that's us, the mismatch theory, the role of foreign minorities, the loss of the precious few. We'll go through here. By the way, Lisa, I assume that you can have access to this talk, anybody who wants it, okay? Yeah. Okay, so look, a major obstacle to improving representation for minorities. Everybody takes math classes as freshmen. Mathematicians are self-proclaimed gatekeepers of quality. Those students don't know anything. We've got to get rid of them, okay? A very serious obstacle. We underrepresented minorities have poorer preparations at all levels. High schools, it doesn't matter. Like in Houston, Texas, it's, public school district. The black schools are there, the brown schools are there, the majority schools are here. And the difference is incredible. A valedictorian out of Yates, which is black, or Milby, which is brown, is not competitive with the valedictorian of Bel Air. So if you think there's homogeneity within public school districts, think about it again. We separate, and the schools show the difference. But the teachers don't know that. They don't know that their valedictorian out of their minority school is not competitive at Rice. Okay? Mathematics faculty do not differentiate between poor preparation and poor talent. You did not do well. You did not do well. You don't have the talent. Okay? So in entry-level courses, they interpret poor performance as poor talent and discourage the underrepresented minority from continuing on in STEM disciplines. Racism. A terrible word. Lower expectations. I think today's racism is lower expectations for minorities. Okay? A story. I'm in the computational applied math department at Rice in the engineering school. We have a real math department. You know, it's like people who do rock, say, oh, we have classical music, okay? We have a real math department, and they claim that they do real math. So, a while back, I sent some students to take a class with this very distinguished mathematician. I almost am on the verge of naming him, but I won't. And he teaches functional analysis, very good. So 6, all males, people went to take the class. Now he asked nothing from them. No presentations, no reading, no assignments, no exams, nothing. When I was at UCLA, I had classes where you did nothing and everybody got an A. So the grades came out. 5, there was one minority, and he looked very minority. He was wonderful. I mean, he was Mexican-American from Houston. He was a barrio elitist. I mean, he showed that he was from the barrio. So there were 5 A's and 1 C. Not even a B, a C. So I went to the provost and to the president and to the chair of the math department, and everybody said, oh, how sad, I wish we could do something. Finally, I went to the professor, and he said, his only explanation was, I try to discourage those that do not belong in mathematics. And that decision was made by the looks of an individual. Was this 20 years ago? No. This is within the last 5 years. At a good school, by a good faculty member. Okay? All right. So, according to at least one Rice mathematician, one of the following does not belong in mathematics. Now, how faculty view underrepresented minority graduate students. So in one of the programs I have, we surveyed the faculty. And they said various things, but the thing that I want is in yellow. They were looking at poor performance, and yet only 6% of the faculty surveyed said minorities possess talent in the field of study. They're already biased against minorities, saying they don't have the talent. Not that they don't work hard. I mean, a lot of them say they don't work hard. But already they say minorities do not possess talent in the field of study. Okay? That's if you have that belief from the start, which the country does, okay? The mismatch theory. Saunders Elliott at UCLA, a law professor, he believes that affirmative action at research schools hurt the underrepresented minorities they're trying to help. They don't succeed in STEM and should therefore be directed to minority-serving institutions. And it's true that they are not prepared and they don't succeed, so that's the truth. But it's a wrong conclusion to say they should be directed to, say, schools where they will succeed, minority-serving institutions. In this country, especially in the South, we have this split between majority and minority schools. It's an interesting thing, and I don't want to go in that direction right now. But the correct conclusion is we have to build support programs so that students that have preparation deficiencies but talent can succeed. And that's what I do at Rice. Okay? I can tell. I had a student in my class once that was one of the most creative people I ever had, and yet he was getting C's. Okay? So I said, okay, we're going to have to fix that. So majority schools say minorities do better in minority schools. Okay? Therefore, they should go there. Minority schools say majority schools, like Rice and Brown, produce so few minority PhDs in STEM areas that we minority schools will build our own PhD STEM programs. And they're doing that right now. Okay? They're building minority PhD programs in minority schools. So we are in danger of establishing a two-tiered PhD structure. If you think separate but equal is equal, it's not. It's always separate. Pedigree is alive and well. Universities do not hire faculty from lower tier schools. So at a committee I was on, I had the president of an HBCU, Historically Black College and University, tell me, Richard, you think you've done so well, but I produced 7 minority PhDs in physics and math at my school. And I said, that's great. Where are they employed? How many have faculty positions at Brown or Stanford or Rice? How many have faculty positions at Tier 1 schools? Well, none of them. But that's the point. Okay? That's the point. Okay. Pedigree is alive and well. Top research universities choose faculty from PhDs produced at top research schools. Underrepresented minorities are to be an effective component. Then we must have equitable presence as students and faculty at top research universities. That means Harvard, Yale, Stanford, the Ivies, Berkeley, Rice, UT. But we're not there on the faculty. Number of degrees obtained, as the National Science Foundation likes to count, is not a good measure of success. Degrees must be competitive and a wide distribution across. I want to know, of all those degrees, how many came from prestigious schools, elite schools? How many came from Stanford, Brown, whatever? That's the mistake. So to understand minority representation issues, you have to disaggregate data. And to cover it up, you aggregate data. When I was an expert witness in federal court for many years on discrimination suits, they would aggregate the data and I would disaggregate the data. And you'd see one pattern for the blacks and another pattern for... Typically, the blacks were large numbers sweeping the floors. The Hispanics were small numbers painting things, okay? Okay, now, I get in trouble for this, okay, but an obstacle to improving faculty representation is the recent replacement of underrepresentation. That's not a good word. Affirmative action, that's not a good word, with the word diversity. Diversity is a great word, okay? So I wrote an article for the Chronicle of Higher Education entitled, True Diversity Doesn't Come From Abroad. So diversity is definition, inclusion of individuals with different backgrounds, different characteristics, and different attributes. Underrepresentation is traditionally poor representation of minorities born and raised in this country. Native Americans, African Americans, Hispanic Americans. Now today's research universities are extremely diverse. I don't care what school you go to. In terms of faculty and graduate students, they continue to do what they've always done well. However, representation of members from underrepresented groups is non-existent. It's far worse than it used to be in the 70s and the 80s, okay? But diversity is good, okay? So today's promotion of diversity has replaced concerns for improving domestic representation. In one sense, are Argentine mathematicians underrepresented? Aristocrats from the very best schools in Argentina, which means the best schools in South America, which means the best schools in the world, and they have to compete with people like Richard Tapia, who came out of the Barrios, the worst high school in the country, okay? Can we Chicanos compete with the very best these foreign countries have to offer? Not really, not at the level of entry, okay? Universities play games in counting foreigners as underrepresented minorities, and to a large degree this is actually promoted by the National Science Foundation and other government agencies. I have resigned from so many committees over this issue, okay? Look at all the underrepresented minorities we have. Okay? I'm not against people from other countries. They give us the strength. But don't use them to replace something that we should be fighting for. I often say, don't even worry about the issue of underrepresentation if you're going to misuse the guidelines. Diversity is good. However, improving the participation of members from underrepresented groups is critical to the economy and the health of the nation. The loss of the precious few. That means the students that go and then we lose them. So low representation of domestic underrepresentation, minority graduate students in STEM departments at Tier 1 schools, okay? They're going to graduate school like going to Brown or Rice. There are two components, the students that come from minority serving institutions or the ones that come from Tier 1 research institutions. Now, from minority institutions, they have many very good students. They perform well, they maintain confidence and self-esteem. They're encouraged to go to graduate school at Brown or Purdue or Wisconsin. They find their preparation for demanding graduate school deficient compared to other students. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. They leave with a master's degree, terminal master's degree. You fail the PhD qualifying exams, here's a master's degree, go away. They're lost to research science, and they could have been very good at research. Okay? Now, at the Tier 1 schools, minority STEM students who are accustomed to functioning with self-confidence, they were the top of their high school class, they're valedictorians, they encounter a sink or swim culture and no support mechanism at these Tier 1 schools. So feeling beat up and losing confidence, the underrepresented minority students at research university, they migrate to non-STEM majors. Huge migration away from STEM, engineering, math, to the friendly side of campus, okay? They continue in STEM but strongly avoid graduate school. However, they're lost to research science. Now the migration pattern is very, very common at Rice. We have a huge percentage of engineering students, minority students come in engineering and migrate to the other side of campus. So, sweet, bittersweet. Rice graduates 91% of its athletes. That's the highest in the country. We don't win games, but we also graduate minority students at an incredibly high rate, but not in the intended major, not in electrical engineering, computer science, mathematics, okay? Not in the intended major. So that statistic is bittersweet. Deficient understanding. Math faculty hiring at research universities. Evaluation that does not promote university and national needs. So this comes very close to my heart, okay? Very close. The most problematic transition point for underrepresented minorities at research university is faculty hiring. Look across the country at good schools and say, take your math department. Probably math is the worst in terms of poor representation. How many underrepresented minority faculty do we have in our math department? Okay? Brown has one. They have Johnny Guzman, who I mentored. He's from California, and I wrote letters for him, and I actually talked to Ruth Simmons about him, and he's here, and he's doing very well. You have one. The other Ivy League schools, zeros. University of California, combined system, 1. Okay? Rice, we have 2. University of Houston, 0. A&M, 1. University of Texas, 1. 1. So one of the talks that I give is in answer to people who say, we have ours, you go get yours. My talk is 1 is not enough. We have ours. Brown has theirs. You have Johnny. The most problematic transition point for underrepresented minorities at research university is the hiring, being hired. Our extra dimensions are not valued. They're not even frosting on the cake. They are the boxes that came in and it's thrown away. Yet these extra dimensions are needed. There's no doubt that I'm a very valuable faculty member at Rice. I know that. Everybody knows that. The president knows that, okay? I'm treated very well. The president says to me, Richard, we treat you well. And I say, yes, David, but I treat you better, okay? All right, let's talk about this. A lifetime of experience leads me to the following realization. I added this slide for this talk. Hiring underrepresented minorities like me is not a lowering of your standards. We bring strengths and understandings that are much needed in the educational mission of the nation and today's universities. But, but these needs and what we bring are not sufficiently valued to enter into faculty hiring criteria in a meaningful way. People talk about it, but I've never seen a faculty hire where it was really strongly influenced because of the things that underrepresented minorities brought. Now, I have seen situations in which a very progressive dean will say, you're going to have to hire a woman, okay? And that's fine. I mean, Denise Denton, the late Denise Denton, did that at Washington in engineering. She took women representation from 4% to around 18%, okay? So I've seen it. But the minority thing is not well understood. It's not well understood, and it's certainly not used. So faculty hiring. It is impossible to hire minority faculty unless they're very traditional. Minority who don't look like minorities but look like majorities and behave like majorities and perform like majorities, yeah, they'll be hired. But that's asking us to change too much. Why I would not be hired by Berkeley Math Department, okay? I can replace Berkeley with Stanford. I had insufficient research potential at an early age to be awarded a Fields Medal. That's the Nobel Prize in Mathematics. I was never going to win that. It's for these brilliant, precocious young people who just have these incredible ideas. But the world isn't built on Fields Medals. Now, many successful hires at Berkeley can't teach, can't talk to students, can't mentor, do not serve as a role model, don't care about the national picture, don't care about students, and can barely find their way to their offices. Now, the full view is I would give in all standard components and beyond. My contribution would be valued, I would be promoted, I would get tenure, but I wouldn't be hired. So I can't get tenure if I'm not hired, okay? Now, Stanford, the administration at Stanford was interested in me in 1976. And I know it was because I was a minority. That was fine. That was fine. I didn't. So I went to Stanford for a year. But it wasn't the department. It was the administration. That was already a bad fit, okay? I did things wrong, especially for Stanford. I had perfect teaching evaluations in 3 classes. They didn't like them, okay? I was faculty advisor to all the Hispanic student groups, including medical and law, okay? And that was good. But they didn't value that. So I had to reject the offer I got from Stanford. It was really substandard. It would have bothered me for my whole life, okay? So I didn't accept it. At Berkeley and Stanford, that's my wife, Jean, in the wheelchair. And she would go with me. In fact, yesterday she wouldn't know why she wasn't coming up here. We would go across campus and all the students would follow us. There I was, a wheelchair, Asian students, black students, brown students, everywhere I went. And I said, but my next talk is not for students. It doesn't matter, we want to be with you. And Jean, this is Stanford and Berkeley, okay? And yet, in 1992, I was the first Latino elected to the National Academy of Engineering. But there's more. I received the National Medal of Science in 2011 from President Obama. That's the highest award given. Thank you. That's the highest award given by the United States government to a scientist or engineer. So this was an incredible moment. This is an incredible moment, okay? I thought of many things. My mother had been dead for about 5 years, but I closed my eyes and I said, thank you, Mom. You would really enjoy this moment in the same way she would have enjoyed Javette's introduction of me, okay? Thank you, Mom, for global excellence. Jean turned to me after the ceremony and said, Richard, we won a White Award. Okay? And I said to Jean, not only is it a White Award, it's the highest White Award. But growing up as a mathematician, I felt somewhat guilty about being put into that group. These are the heroes that I grew up with. Norbert Wiener, Solomon Lefschetz, on and on, Peter Lax, Duke. These are the greatest mathematicians that they were my heroes. They're still my heroes. How can I be put in that group? So it was embarrassing in some sense, and I felt so much humility. I don't belong. So I would argue with Jean. And she said, no, honey, you belong. I said, but Jean, you don't know mathematics. You don't know these people. You don't know. Be quiet, okay? No, honey, you belong, okay? So while I was thinking all these things, President Obama came up. There were 7 people that had won the National Medal of Science. And President Obama said, he started his conversation. All 7 of you have done great research. But Richard Tapia has given to this nation in directions that are critical for the future of the nation, dealing with underrepresentation, dealing with gender equity. He said, and I wish the other 6 of you would emulate what he has been doing. That's what's important. So I said, thank you, President Obama, for convincing me. And Gene said, I told you. Okay. But there's more. This year I won, this award isn't as visible, but it's very prestigious, the Vannevar Bush Award by the National Science Foundation. And I was on the National Science Board for 6 years, so I know what this award was. And I wanted to win this award, okay? And I kept trying, but anyway, this year I did. By far the first minority to ever win this award. But remember, I wouldn't be hired by Berkeley Math or Stanford Math, okay? The guiding themes in my life, I'm not the best. I'm thinking of math classes I took at UCLA. Was I the very best ever? Probably not, but I was good enough, you see? The very best, you know, maybe they've gone on to non-distinguished careers, okay? Here's another thing that I've learned that I share. If you sit on the porch with the big dogs and occasionally bark like a big dog, the world will view you as a big dog, okay? Your credentials precede you. This is to students. They promote credibility and open doors. When I'm asked to give talks, they have to say, Tapia can't be a total turkey, okay? Because he's won so many awards, okay? Be a professional who happens to be a minority, not a professional minority. Now this bottom line is important. We serve as role models in two capacities, minority youth and majority colleagues. Minority youth look and they say, wow, he's like me. But majority colleagues, concerning the latter, we want majority colleagues, this is when I was on the National Science Board, to show them that excellence comes in all flavors. That's what you had to do. And that's what I tried to do on the National Science Board, and I think I succeeded. Okay, all university administrators make the politically correct statements with respect to the university's mission concerning diversity and the promotion of representation. However, what is said is rarely reflected to the level of the departments. Our president says to me, he and I get in terrible arguments. The law says this and this and that. And I say, David, you should see what's happening in our department. You wouldn't recognize it. You say great things, and by the time it gets to our department, they say, the president doesn't care. There's no bite. We can do whatever we want. We had 2 outstanding minorities in our search pool last year. And if I hadn't fought for them, but I've become persona non grata in our department. I'm always fighting things. I have to try to go to somebody else and say, I have a friend named Yin Zong. She's Chinese. Yin, you take this fight and I'll support you. Okay. So we have to encourage the administration to practice departmental accountability. NSF can and should play a strong role here. The department should be the unit of accountability. That's it. I thank you very much. I appreciate it, and you know, I'm just telling the story that I lived. I mean, it can't be any other way, okay? And the thing that has helped me is I have a platform that was developed through credibility and awards, and I have to share that. See, I gave a president's lecture a couple of months ago at University of Delaware. And I gave one at MIT, Caltech. I have to take this platform, and that was my mission here with you, and I want you to take and digest the things that I say. But it is impossible to hire underrepresented minorities, good ones, into traditional math departments, and then it comes down from there. It's not just math, computer science, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now, you have, in fact, I know in computer science here, at the Richard Tapia conference, you had, yeah, Chad. Chad gave a great talk. And so I know you have Chad, and I know where Chad's from, okay? And he's from Louisiana and spent time in Texas. And anyway, and the same with Johnny Guzman. So, you know, so I thank you for that. And I remind you that one's not enough, okay? So,
So we're going to open up for questions from our audience. We only have about 10 minutes or so because we have to go to the next session. But any questions from the audience? Okay. Please stand.
Hi, first of all, thank you so much, everyone. My question is, the grade for the student who got
Okay, I can't hear you, okay?
See if I can get.
did the grade for the student who got the C,
Yeah.
unnamed professor,
Yeah.
did that grade ever changed?
Oh, no, no, no. In fact, the student asked me, he said, look, I don't want to be known as a troublemaker, okay? So he asked me not to go and discuss it with the faculty member, with the department chair, and with the president. No, it was never changed. And in fact, it's really interesting. He didn't know he got that grade until we were preparing a dossier. He went to, as a postdoc to NYU. And NYU said, you're really great, except there's a C over here, okay? And we had to, no, it's not going to be changed. And I just use it as an example. See, when I talk to students, young students, you know, students out of high school who are on top, they think the world is perfect, okay? Then undergraduates think it's quasi-perfect. Graduate students say, just help me, okay? But I have to give them that example because they don't believe it. They don't believe it. They say, I've never discovered, or I've never suffered discrimination. You haven't, but you will. Thank you.
Richard, what are some of the specifics of your program and programs like the MyHawk program that really build that pipeline for STEM students?
Well, you know, the Meyerhoff program gets a lot of visibility, and I love Freeman. I love Freeman, okay? And, you know, and Freeman is, you know, he's magic. I mean, you know, we don't have Martin Luther King anymore, so we have Freeman and Rabowski, okay? And if you make people, individuals, students of color, feel that they belong and they have something to offer, that's our major success. So in mathematics, in 1 year, I don't remember how long ago, a while back, the National Science Foundation said to me, there were 8 minority PhDs produced in the country in mathematics, and Rice produced 4. Okay? So it isn't that, you know, we're overwhelmed people with statistics in terms of all these numbers, but we do in terms of what we produce. So, you know, we've had like 16 National Science Foundation fellowships. So we do better than any other school in the country, and it's because of me. I mean, it's not because the policy is ingrained and it's institutionalized. I just do talk to the students, and I make them feel that they believe, and I find out if there's any deficiencies. And a magic thing I'll do with a student is I have a network, and they'll say, A, just failed an exam. So I call in A, okay? Young black woman I'm thinking of right now. How are you doing? Oh, I'm fine. I'm doing great. But how come you failed this exam? You know about that. Yeah, I do know about it, okay? So let's talk. See, by the time an underrepresented minority student comes to you saying, I need help, it's too late. It's too late. Because there's so much pride, and you don't want people to say what you said was correct. So the question is, will the program continue to do the things it does when I'm gone? Okay? Probably not. There has to be a champion. Carlos Castillo Chavez at Arizona State is the new Richard Tapia. Okay? There has to be a champion. And that's what I did. So it isn't magic. It's a champion who understands, who they identify with, who they've been there, and they trust. And that's what I've done with them. And I'll fight for them. See, at Berkeley, Berkeley has what's called, I call, the den mother approach. They have a whole bunch of wonderful master's degrees people working with the students. But at Rice we have distinguished faculty. So I can go argue on behalf of a minority student to a department chair, and the chair cannot tell me, oh, you don't know what it's like. I have been there. So that's been very effective, is that our steering committee for my program is distinguished faculty, and that's really a difference. Whereas Berkeley, their master's degree staff, which are wonderful, but they can't deal or fight the faculty. I can. That's it.
Hi, thank you very much for your comments. I had a question about, it seems to be a new wave of enthusiasm around, minority hackathons and Black Girls Code and all of these other kinds of, STEM pipeline programs. What's your take on those, or do you think they're effective for long term?
Yeah, I think they're helping. Yeah, no, in fact, when I came in from Boston last night, I had a taxi driver from Providence who was black, and we had a great conversation, and and he was asking me similar things. The programs are helping. The programs are helping, and in fact, last week, I was in Boston for the Richard Tapia Celebration of Diversity Conference, and on Thursday of last week, somebody got together. We had 21 minority undergraduates from Rice that were graduate students at Harvard or MIT. 21! I mean, 20 years ago, that would not have happened. 21 wonderful minority students, graduate students at MIT or Harvard, who came from Rice. Okay? No, they're helping. There's sensitivity. But it used to be in the 60s that the good guys were the faculty and the bad guys were the administrators. Remember the sit-ins and stuff? Okay, I mean, you're too young. But it's changed. The good guys, at least in the way they say things, are the administration. The bad guys are the rank and file faculty. You can't get past the faculty. Faculty still wants, if you look and act like me, then you're good. If you're not. So today, the problem, and this, I include Rice in this, is really the bulk of the faculty. Administration always says good things. Okay? Yeah, I think it's working.
Stay over here.
Good morning, and I really want to thank you for the comments. I was overwhelmed by so much of what you had to say. There was one particular thing that stood out, and it's got my heart palpitating, so excuse me. But when you spoke about President Obama's comment about the need for the leadership to emulate what you've done. And I hope I don't make any enemies at this next comment. I think awareness and sensitivity is important in this conversation around diversity and underrepresentation. And presence, the numbers, they do matter. And at the end of the day, though, I struggle with what is, especially for higher ed, the vision and the competencies and the success criteria that are required to deliver on what you've delivered on. Because it's okay to have a champion that comes along, but even if you didn't have the presence and those that were there had the competencies, would they then be able to deliver on the success you had? So if you were to articulate what those competencies are that get you to your end result, what might they be?
Well, okay, for example, at Rice, no chair of the department would substitute, let's say, an aristocrat from Argentina in mathematics as an underrepresented minority. That wouldn't happen at Rice. So that's, I resigned from a committee at MIT because of that issue. Okay, and in fact, I'm very fond of the president, but as you know, he's from Venezuela, raised in Venezuela. So twice I resigned from committees, one at Berkeley and one at, So I say that understanding I've been very successful with, right? Will it last forever? But knowing how to evaluate, for example, I've been very successful at Rice to stop using SAT scores in the way they do it, okay? And Rice likes to compete with everybody and says we're the third highest in the nation in SAT scores, okay? Now what I found working with students is that at the bottom level, there's more truth, i.e., if somebody scores really low on an SAT score, they probably won't do well in science, okay? On the other hand, if they score real high, that doesn't mean they're going to do well. So we have a threshold approach, okay? Anybody below this score will be looked at carefully, and anybody above this score will look at other factors. But Rice has had to pay. We can no longer say we're number 3 in the nation in SAT scores. So I've changed that. And there are faculty who come to me and ask me about accepting either hiring a minority faculty member or graduate students, okay? Have we made change that is going to be institutionalized? Maybe a little bit, but not enough, okay? So I say the champions are there, not just to do the work, but to educate the university about what could be done. And in my programs, like the way I run, one program I have, AGIP, I have a manual for that. I mean, I have an AGIP manual. I say, the Richard Tapia AGIP program at Rice. And I tell what we do, okay? So I think, I don't know, okay? But I mean, I agree with you. But look, when I came, Cornell University in 2000 started a conference called the David Blackwell was an outstanding African-American mathematician, Richard Tapia Conference, okay, Cornell. And when I came back to Rice, Malcolm Gillis was president. And he said, Richard, I hear there's a conference in your name. And I said, yeah. And he said to me, well, that's great. Where was it? And I said, Cornell. Whoa, Cornell did it. Wow, he was shocked, okay. Then he said, was Hunter Rollins III president? I said, yes. And he goes, whoa. Then he looked at me and he says, you're walking in tall cotton. That's what he said, exactly, okay? So when prestigious universities like Brown do things like this, or Cornell did the David Blackwell, Richard Tapia thing, people listen, okay? And that's why Stanford, Berkeley, Brown, Harvard, they have to do things like that. People listen and say, if the leaders are doing it, then we should be doing it too. Okay, and that's why I respect what you're doing here. Okay, I respect, and Carlos Castillo Chavez made this happen at Cornell. Okay.
Okay, we can only take 2 more questions. All right. Okay. Student.
Hi, Professor Tapia. My name is Silvina Hernandez. I'm a sophomore here at Brown. My question is about student participation in all these efforts. So I want to validate, some of the things, everything you said, but particularly the stuff about students and coming in feeling underprepared, but also having that pride and holding out until maybe the last moment to ask for help. But I have, I've been here almost 2 years now, but I have found that we do need to have some participation. The administrators and faculty can say many things, but I have also heard, we need to have student support. So my question is, what do you think students need to do to hold administrators, faculty, and our institutions accountable to these changes and these proposals of of our institution?
Okay. Yeah, that's a good question. By the way, she's an outstanding mariachi singer. I don't know if you all know that or not. At Rice, what I do is I organize the students, and I make sure that black and brown are together. I don't want black saying this and brown saying this. And then I have them focus on what are the issues, okay? And then I have them go to the president, okay? But you can't go, you all know this, you can't go to a president and say, this is wrong, fix it. You have to go to the president saying, this is what we want, and this is what we want. See, in the 60s we learned, if we wanted this, we asked for this, okay? And it worked. So I have the students as a group, and the power of having black and brown together, and we do that very well at Rice, by the way, together, and then going to the president. Presidents will speak to students before they speak to faculty. There's no doubt about it. And I have student groups go to the president and say, these are the issues, and rehearse it and go focused. That's what president, you can't go to a president or to a provost and just say, I'm unhappy, or fix this. Come in very directed, boom, 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 boom. And we've had a lot of changes on that, especially the students played a major role when we changed the SAT format. You can do it. And it gives you something to believe in. All right.
Okay, the last question.
Richard, thanks so much for coming. One of the things that's interesting about URM, underrepresented minority academics at least, is their breadth. And I'm wondering whether you could comment. I mean, I look at your career, and you do certain things, but there's a flavor to it that touches a number of different fields. Is that something that might be usable to increase faculty numbers across departments?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I do too many things. Okay? I mean, there's no doubt about it. But I do them because I love them and I care about them. And I've been in a unique position. See, I've been in a unique position. So I recognize that and I have to speak out, okay, so I can do it. No, what I want, here's what I want. I maintain that there are underrepresented minorities that can be hired in a traditional department, be it computer science, electrical engineering, and all I want them to do is to succeed in a traditional manner in those departments. They don't have to give the extras. The extras will be seeing them as role models and people understanding them. And you know, you can't, over the years I've said, you can't fix the underrepresentation of the student body if you don't do anything with the faculty. Okay? So I just wanted to be, when Gina and I grew up, she just wanted to be a dancer, and I just wanted to be a simple mathematician, okay? But our paths were very complicated, okay? And we went off following the rainbow. So I want faculty, minority graduate students hired as faculty who will succeed in traditional ways. And I think that I've seen evaluation where they have lower expectations and they don't think that they will succeed. We often tend to be very quiet when we come in and they don't evaluate us. So one of the things that will kill minorities always is, like in our department, you look at the number of papers written. We're interviewing next week a person, PhD from Princeton, who's been out of school 3 years and has like 40 papers, okay? And the faculty goes, wow! That's it, on one thing, okay? But I'd much rather have somebody who has maybe 7 or 8 papers, but gives us in other directions and understands. So I haven't seen this person, but I'm looking forward to seeing what this person can do besides write papers, okay? But writing papers hurts you. I realized that at an early age. I got tenure very fast, because I wrote a lot of papers. Were they good papers? They weren't bad. They weren't bad, but they got me where I wanted to go. Okay, and so that's what I say. So I want people that will succeed. I don't want the self-fulfilling statement saying, see, I told you they were not good. See? I have minority PhDs from Rice that never got interviews at Tier 1 schools. So I have 7 minority faculty at University of Texas, El Paso, and 4 at University of Texas, Pan Am. They're minority-serving institutions. Some of those should be at Tier 1 schools, but they never got on short lists. Never. Okay, thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you.